Welcome to my podcast, Today's Dream, Tomorrow's Reality. My name is Vicki Poole. I'm a master transformational coach and hypnotist specializing in habit change. This podcast is sponsored by the Enlightened Peach and is all about embracing our mosaic life. Some of you may ask, what is a mosaic life? Well, it is recognizing that all the pieces of our life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, have all come together to make us who we are. Change any one thing and we are different. With that in mind, I invite you to embrace your perceived imperfections and celebrate who you are. This podcast is unedited and raw, just like life. I am your host, and today I have a special guest that I'll be introducing in just a moment. She's backstage waiting right now. And in the meantime, I would love for you to leave a comment. And remember, to create more movement and get more and more guests, remember to like, subscribe, share, and make sure to make a comment and let us know how the guest has resonated with you and just help us get this party bigger, right? All right. So now let's get started. So before I introduce my guest, I just want to let you know that I have known her for a little while. We met in a group that we were both in, and we just became friends from that moment. And we have done so many things together. She's actually been a client of mine with hypnosis, and she has amazing things going on in her life that I want to have her share with you. So I'm going to bring her. I'm going to bring her in. All right, here she comes.
Hey, hey.
Ah, there you are.
It's so good to be here, Vicki. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Just go ahead and just tell everybody your name, because I don't even know that I said your name. Michelle, and tell them who you are and what it is that you're up to now.
Yeah, my name's Michelle Mckowen-Campbell. It's lovely to meet you all. I'm a professional speaker, confidence coach, and an awesome activator. And I'm sitting here, and of course, the trash truck has come behind.
We can't hear it, so you're good.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So, and I'm all about activating the awesome. I have a framework that and a creative workshop that I go through with all my clients, either on their own or through groups. Teens through to adults, young adults in particular, to activate the awesome. And really, I love what you're about, Vicki, and this is why we're such good friends, is because the mosaic of our life is absolutely awesome. That doesn't mean we necessarily like it. There are times where we really don't like what's going on, but it truly is awesome. And so I take my clients through a creative process to gather the undeniable proof of the awesomeness. And it's a continuous process that just keeps growing and growing. So on a day, even though it may be a bad day, we can still see the awesomeness. And on those truly amazing days, we can celebrate the awesomeness. And everything in between, we can see the awesomeness. Yeah. So that's what we do.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. That is one of the reasons why we're such good friends, I guess, because we are so like-minded when it comes to that. We do things differently, but it's the same idea, right?
Yes.
And I want to go back because I know a little bit of your history because, like I said, we've been friends for a little while and worked together. Tell us a little bit about being in the UK and making that decision to move here with I mean, it's mind-blowing to me because me just moving to another state feels like a huge thing, right? So share that journey with us because it's amazing.
Well, it's a crazy story. And I think so many awesome moments in our lives happen from a crazy start. So a fantastic bottle of wine and my boyfriend at the time, my now husband, decided that why not look for work abroad? Why not try something new? What's the worst that can happen? And at that point, it was just the two of us. So we started looking and he found opportunities. And so that led to us coming over. Now, it took us I want to say 3 years, because not long after that, then I was expecting our son. And then there wasn't just 2 of us anymore. There were then 3. So we had a 3-year-old coming over to America, the only grandchild, I might add. So that went down really well in my family.
Your family was standing there with open arms with, go for it, right?
They were like, are you kidding me? Because no, I was in my when we made this decision, I was in my 40s, early, late 30s, early 40s. And so we weren't expecting to have a little one. It was just going to be a crazy adventure for the 2 of us. But, life was not meant to be that way. And so here we are. And now I had always written in my journals and had this feeling of a place that I would love to end up in. And I say to all the people I meet, I'm sorry, I did not know North Carolina existed 7 years ago. I really didn't. America was one place. The place I saw in the movies, I had no clue. My husband had more of an idea because some of his family had lived over here previously, but I really didn't. And it was.
Had you ever visited the U.S. before?
Once. Okay. I visited Connecticut because of my husband's family. So not long after meeting him, I made a trip. Again, another crazy moment. You meet a guy and then you say to your parents, hey, I'm just going to go on holiday to America. Don't worry about me. So I ended up in Connecticut, and it was memorable because I left with a hurricane heading to New York. So I think it was I want to say 2010, maybe around that. I don't know. I can't think. I'm so bad with dates. But I left with my friend saying to me before I boarded the airplane, are you sure the flight's still going? Because I'm not hearing great things. And I said, please don't say any more. I'm about to sit in my seat, and I put the phone down. And then when I arrived in New York, I remember saying to my husband, he texted me. So as I was waiting to go through passport control, he'd said, I can't believe it. There's been an earthquake, Trevor, while I'm waiting for you. And then when I got out, I remember saying to him, I really thought Grand Central Station would be busier. There was nobody. It was boarded up. There was nobody in New York at all. It was just crazy. So that's my first experience of America, and it was phenomenal. Thank you, New York, because we had we went on a boat trip that evening. Of course we did. We went on a boat trip. We had the most phenomenal meal. It was at a discounted rate because nobody was here. And we stayed in Connecticut with no electricity for quite some days.
Wow.
Hurricane. So that was my first experience of America. So, hey, I don't know why I wanted to come back. Yeah, I'd never heard of North Carolina. And when I remember Googling, I don't know if I've said this to you, Vicky, I used to Google. So we sold our house. So a year prior to us deciding this crazy move, we went out shopping for food and bought a house, because that's what you do. Yeah. Just happened to find this random place that had one house was remaining, and we just happened to have the amount for the deposit. And they said, it's yours if the person doesn't come back. And of course they didn't come back. So bought the house, then decided we were coming to America, sold the house, and the market went crazy just at the perfect time. My husband had moved to America. I'd moved up to middle of England, packed all our stuff up, sold all our stuff. And then it dawned on me that maybe I should visit. I didn't know anything about it. So I used to Google, can you ski and go to the beach? Would I be able to dance? Would I be able to do all these crazy activities? And of course, it always came back, yes. And I was kept thinking, why didn't I know about this place? Like, you go to the mountains and you go to the beach and within 3 hours and the rest of it. And I remember saying to my husband, I need to come and visit. We'd already moved. I mean, the decision was made. He started his job. So I came to visit for 2 weeks. We managed to crazily buy a house in literally 2 days. And when I put my feet on the earth, having come out of the airplane, I just knew, like, it was home. It was the place that I used to write about in my journal. And I say to my clients a lot, so often when we are asked to visualize, we can't visualize with a name. I didn't know the name of the place I needed to be. I didn't know that. Also, I knew the feeling of what it would feel like when I got here. And when I landed here in Charlotte, that feeling was really powerful. I knew there was a reason I was meant to be here. Now, what happened after that, you know a little bit about, because I got here, we weren't married, so I couldn't work. So I couldn't do what I used to do before. Everything was taken away from me. And then just at the point where I could work, COVID happened. So all doors closed. Just at the point where we put our green card in, the doors closed and we couldn't leave. So we had to stay, but we couldn't visit, and all kinds of crazy things. But still, I knew there's a reason why I was here. There was going with your gut. Sometimes you just go without questioning, gets you to where you need to be. And I would not have changed this crazy journey ever. I really wouldn't.
Yeah.
At no point did I doubt it. None of us did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even with a youngster at the time. Yeah, and now we're here for good. But because of that, I have coached. I've supported people through COVID with their resume writing. My background is HR. So I looked at how I could support people through that time. And what came clear and what created the awesome framework is that even in our darkest moments, we can still be awesome.
Right. Yeah.
We have to see it though. And there's that famous quote, you know, that we are surrounded by miracles, although we see them as ordinary things. I think it's Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we do to ourselves. We kind of take it for granted that I didn't do enough, could have done this, should have done this, would have done this. When actually, when you get really down to the detail, we do a lot of awesome stuff. And that awesome thing might be, I didn't press snooze this morning. Only you know that.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows it. So I have to like go, yay, I'm awesome. Because why wait for someone else to say it?
Yeah. Well, we have to work on our internal self before we ever look at what external is going on around us. And, you know, that makes me think this morning in my group, my Facebook group, I did a live, and one of the things that I taught about this morning was stress and anxiety and how that shows up in the body. And, you know, I taught them a breath to do. But the thing that I told them that was, to me, the most important was when anything's happening in your life, instead of all of a sudden saying, woe's me, this is going on, and oh my gosh, I'm not good enough, and this is to stop and just get curious. You know, what is this actually helping me to learn or to do or to be, that maybe without that gift of whatever is happening, I wouldn't be able to be who I want to be in this other place, you know? And I think sometimes we get so bent out of shape because things are not, you know, progressing like we want, or something has pushed us back. And, you know, because it's interesting that if we were the person that we needed to be to reach our goal, we would already be there. And so the lessons and the curiosity and getting out of your comfort zone is the thing that takes you to where you want to be. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We all have the answer. So growing up, I never knew. It took me a long time to realize that I always had the answer. We always know what we should be doing, what we could be doing, you know, what is the right thing for us. And then we often let everything else come in, other people's, you know, views and opinions, just our culture, you know, all of this noise. But actually, if we quieten down, we know what we need to do. We don't have the confidence. We think we have to go outside and get it. And
well, that's what we're trained to do. Right? We are trained from the moment we start learning from our peers that we have to get permission from everybody. And then we are supposed to be listening to what they tell us. And, you know, like one of the things, and I don't know if it's everywhere, but I know in the South that was children were meant to be seen and not heard. So you could not express an opinion about the things that were going on in life, that my parents know everything and I'm not supposed to have an opinion. And I'm just as guilty of that as anybody, because when my children were little, it was like, do what I say. And, you know, and we just get this place that that's what we're taught that parents do. And I love that now, like I'll see some different things on YouTube and on TikTok and different things. And it's actually allowing children to voice their opinions and have their emotions and not being, you know, go do something, you're, you know, all those things. And so I think the generation that's growing up now with parents that do that with them and help them to feel and experience and explore a little bit, I think, oh, it's going to create such amazing humans. Not that everybody's not amazing already, but the mindset that we have to overcome from, you know, and I'm a lot older than you. And so the things that I have to overcome are huge. And maybe this next generation's not going to have all this overcomingness. They already start with the ability to express themselves and trust their intuition and their guidance system. And, you know, so I just applaud so many. I had a guest on my podcast that she does the unschooling. And I had never heard of such before. And in talking to her, I thought, oh my gosh, that is magnificent. You know, it's brilliant to, I don't know, it just makes me giddy, you know, thinking about all the things that'll transpire from doing these things that change how we perceive everything and take all the ownership in us instead of giving it to everybody else.
Oh, absolutely. And I spend a lot of the time with certainly my younger students saying, you know, so often, you know, and the reason I do my work is because I've lived this life. Okay. I was the first to blame everybody else.
Yeah.
It wasn't about me. That, you know, my journey is that, you know, that I never ever felt like I belonged. I couldn't quite work out how I fit. And therefore it wasn't me. It was the fact that everybody else was different, you know, and, you know, I would always point, literally, but point. So I say to my younger, you know, clients that, you know, when we're pointing out there and blaming our environment and blaming the people and blaming our parents and blaming our friends and whatever, all of the reasons, we actually have one finger's pointing that way and we have three pointing back at ourselves. So as much as we might not want to do that, and it's tough, you know, to have that realization that, oh my goodness, maybe I need to start here first.
Yeah.
I spent years and years and years, when I looked through my photos of, I was a chameleon. I thought that I was meant to try and fit in. That is what I believed I was meant to do. And my background is I'm mixed race. I have a white English mother, a black Jamaican father. I have a twin that is white, a boy, but light skinned. He had blonde hair when we were babies. And I was.
Oh, so you looked like twins for sure, right?
You know, and we were sat at either end of the pram.
Yeah.
Like complete opposite. My mum used to knit us fabulous opposite outfits. Just for added craziness.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, there was no way. No, I have a Jamaican family and an English family, and none of them speak like me, and none of them look like me. So I went on this whole journey of I was meant to go out there and find myself. And so many youngsters are doing that. They feel like they're meant to fit in. It took me years to recognize that actually I'm meant to just be me. I'm meant to get to know who I am. That's why we create. The workshop I do is about creating me. Now I work with my tree, which I should have had behind me.
Oh, you should have. Yes, yes.
I've been using.
And just as you're on that thought, let me share. You know, I know you feel that it's because you're got one part of your family that's white and one part that's black, and they don't speak like you, they don't look like you and everything. But I will share that sometimes you can be in a family where everybody looks like you and you can still feel like you are what they consider the black sheep of the family.
Yes.
And you don't fit in. Yeah. And so, you know, it's a very common thing. Even if physically you all look the same, you know, you can just feel like I don't get it, and for years, I thought I was adopted. And of course, my older sister, and she hates when I share this story, but she's 2 years older than me, and she used to tease me incessantly because she knew I thought I was adopted. And so she would tell me that I was definitely adopted because my birth certificate didn't have my footprint on it and hers did. It was because I was too old when they got me. She would tell me all these things, and she swears up and down she didn't do this, but she did. And so I was convinced that, these were not my parents. It's just crazy, and I know they are. I've had the blood work done, with ancestry and everything, but I felt so different that I thought I was adopted.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I think we all are, because none of us are the same.
Right.
So,
right.
and that's when I get people to make their tree. So, and I don't know, we make an awesome tree. We go through a whole process of making an awesome tree. If we look in the forest, there are no two trees alike, not one of them. Every single one is different, and yet we celebrate that. So to be able to see that actually we're not meant to fit in. We're meant to really stand tall and get to know who we are. And I love that poem of Marianne Williamson, that our deepest fear is not failure, it's actually light, us standing in the light, standing to our true potential. And I ran away from that. I thought other people were meant to show me what that was, and if I could wear my hair in a certain way, or dress in a certain way, or listen to certain music, or just be able to relate and adapt and mold and morph into who they were and behave in their way, fit in their box, then all would be well. You can do that for so long, and then actually the more you keep doing that, and it's hilarious seeing my photos where I'm blonde and half my hair's gone and it's long and straight, and all of this stuff that pieces. It's probably the most miserable moment of my life when I had these hair pieces put in and braids. But I fit into my little group.
That's right. That's right.
And all of these things, we all do this, even if we think about where we work. How many of us are changing our persona from the moment we get out of our house into our car, and then we get out at the office and we're a different person. We're wearing clothes perhaps that we wouldn't choose to wear.
Yeah.
Because that's how you're
we're acting on a stage for every different place in our life.
Different place.
And, it's amazing. And, I've been a hairstylist for many, many years before I started the podcast, before I started coaching and the hypnosis and all that stuff. And as a hairstylist, I learned very early, because my parents were hairstylists, my aunts and uncles were hairstylists. There's a lot of us, right? And I learned early on that when a client came in and sat in the chair, how to assess this person so that I could adopt to some of their behaviors and their actions to make them more comfortable. And I learned it so well that I found myself doing it with every person that I met, even when I was outside the salon, in relationships and everything. So a lot of people that met me didn't know who the hell I was, because I didn't know. I had lost it, And so it took a lot of self-reflection and a lot of this work to get to a place where I felt really confident. And that's one of the reasons I started my podcast, because I realized how long I had filtered my voice and who I was. And this just gave me the perfect place to just say whatever the hell I wanted to say and do what I wanted to do. And, I could share it or not share it, or, somebody could look at it and just go on about their merry way if they didn't like it. And it's amazing when you can get to a place where it's like, I want to stand out a little bit different. And I'll be honest, as a hairstylist, I do people's hair, and I do my hair. And then suddenly I'll notice that I'll have a lot of people adopting my hair. So then I'll change it because I want to be different. And, and it's funny because now I look at ways to be different instead of how to be the same. It's just mind blowing how this this growth works, right?
It really is crazy, but just beautifully awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, recognizing that you don't have to, when we think about going out. Now, I never really thought about this till I got to America. And so much, yes, we speak the same language, but it's so different. So people, and I said this to somebody last week, if you invited me for dinner and you said, come for dinner, it's fancy dress. Okay. They are thinking over here, it's no evening attire.
Mm-hmm.
No, nice dress.
Mm-hmm.
Fancy dress for me is dress up. It's Halloween.
Ah, yeah.
So there's a lot of things that are lost in translation.
Yeah.
But why shouldn't I? If I want to go out for an evening, I shouldn't have to worry about what are the rules about what should be worn.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I go to my wardrobe and think I'm going to wear white trousers, it's in the middle of winter, with a top with some flowers on, that should be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, how many of us would do it? We'd go, no, that's for the summer or the spring.
Yeah.
Got flowers on it. We need to be more, you know, winter appropriate, or, you know, or our colors. You know, if we think about, you know, even when we turn up to a group or work or, you know, a place where there's lots of us, how many times have we turned up and we've all worn the same color or similar colors?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not us being true to who we are. It's you know, there's a suggestion of, well, these are the things that we wear.
Right.
And actually, when we're being true to ourselves, we should just go with our gut. If you walked into your closet and we often get a pull to a certain item, a certain color, because that's what we need in our world to make us. Maybe it's a bright pink, or you know, maybe it is black, you know, from head to toe, because that's what's going to make us feel good. That's what our body needs.
Right.
We should just go with it, and yet we stop ourselves from being, you know, authentically, you know, unique. And also just who we are without any question. And I love what you say about the podcast, because it gives you a space to talk and express unapologetically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just get it out. And yet so often what we'll do is the only time we really do allow ourselves to do that is if you've got like a journal.
Mm-hmm.
And then you do it in your secret journal and you go blah with everything that we really feel and think. And then we close it so no one sees it.
That's right. And we hide it away sometimes so nobody can open it up secretly.
Yeah.
Well, you know, one of the things that I applaud my daughter for so much is, and she's been this way for as long as I can remember, she could care less what other people think. So she'll dress however she wants. And like sometimes now, even though it's not Halloween, she'll wear makeup that looks more like a clown or different things when she goes to work. And kids love it and everything. And there are people that'll look, you know, but she enjoys it. And she just has a good time with it. However, I mean, sometimes she does her makeup totally different. And I will say there was a couple of times when she was in high school that she would kind of fall prey to, you know, how other people were dressing or acting, like when she was a cheerleader for a while and, you know, and so different things. But as an adult, she just, you know, she dresses however she wants to. She creates these outfits, and I mean, it's amazing, you know, to see all these different creative ways that she expresses herself. And when I was her age, no way would I have been doing that, because I wanted to make sure that nobody looked at me really weird or anything, you know?
I see. When I was younger, I remember my parents saying to me, you know, you can wear whatever you want, but you have to be prepared to be looked at. Because I was really shy, painfully shy, but I did like to be just quirky and different with my clothing. So I had this persona. So often I had this persona when I was younger that I was so confident. People would say, you know, you always have everything together. But actually there was this undercurrent underneath that, yes, outwardly, I could be confident, but inwardly there were all these questions and this constant voice going round in circles as to, you know, what is going on out there, not understanding the world. Should I, shouldn't I? And I just thought like constant chatter of, why did you do that? Why did you say that? Should have done it, like constant. So I think we all go through this where we can show that outwardly that we look like we've got it all together, but inwardly we haven't.
Yeah.
We can be putting on clothes to make us feel a certain way, yet internally we feel completely the opposite.
Right.
And vice versa. Now, I think the really exciting thing is when we realize that we actually have control of that.
Yeah.
It's not just happening to us, but we've got control of that. You know, I'm making a conscious, intentional decision that I've got this event happening. Like today, I could just turn up in, you know, a nice t-shirt or something just to be comfortable. Or I could think, you know what, blue is something that makes me feel good. Yeah, I'm going to wear it and intentionally come to speak to you. Yeah, not just stick any old thing on, or that might feel like that to me, but you know, for you, you're like, you look fine. But afterwards, have that internal dialogue of,
yeah,
oh, Michelle, why didn't you wear this, and why didn't you do that, and why didn't you say that? Yeah, so it's about when we get to know each other, you know, ourselves, I should say, truly get to know, you know, with the framework that I work with, you know, that it starts off with connecting with your all. Okay, assess where you are today. How awesome do you actually feel? Is it like a 1 where you've literally dragged yourself out because that, you know, of bed, and you've actually got up and had a cup of tea or cup of coffee or whatever, you've eaten breakfast, because that's pretty awesome for some of us that you even did that. Or you're skipping and jumping in a 10. Is that real? Just assess. Okay. Are you putting on a face, or is that true? Because it's just about getting to know yourself. Are you actually woken up to your real identity? Do you know even who you are? I went through a period of time, certainly when I came over here and I couldn't work, that I had no choice but to get to know myself.
Right.
Okay. I didn't even know what eggs I liked. And I remember Runaway Bride with Julia,
where she was adopting everybody's eating habits.
I remember stumbling across that movie and thinking, that's me. Like, if somebody's having a boiled egg, I'll go, yeah, okay. Is that my favorite? I don't know. I don't know. And because I was in a new country, you've got all the time in the world, what would you really like to do? I'd worked so many hours in HR. I didn't know what I wanted to do in my spare time. So I had to waken up my identity, who I was, and actually not even who I was. Who did I really want to be? What kind of person did I want to be? Because you now have an opportunity. We all have an opportunity every single day to decide. Right. Today I want to be this person, and tomorrow that might change. So what? Yay. Yeah. Go with it. Yeah. Today I feel like being straight-haired. Yeah. Long straight hair. Feel completely different. Probably will wear completely different clothes. Look different. People will probably walk past me and not recognize me. And the next day I decide I'm going to be a bit like this. You know, and that's just how it is, you know. And so being able to celebrate that, you're then able to engage your gifts, get to know what you really have. So all my clients start with that, because how many of us have written a resume from somebody else's voice, gone for a job interview and just kind of repeated the answers that Google has given us? Or now we go to voice who we are, and do you know who we go and speak to first? ChatGPT. To get us going, you know? So is it your voice or is it the computer's voice? You know, we don't trust and we're not confident with who we are, yet we are truly awesome when we get down to it. It gets really exciting to be able to say, do you know what? I really don't like that. And that's okay. I never want to wear that color again. And that's okay. No, I never want to be in that situation, and that's okay. But you know what? I really love what makes me happy. You know, because so many of us don't even know what that is, you know, to feel true happiness and joy. Because what do we do when we get to that place? We suddenly feel awesome, and we're thinking, what if it doesn't last? So we dampen it to prepare ourselves for the failure or something going wrong. Right. Yeah. So it's like, how can we, I think we all have a right to know. Firstly, we have control of how we show up and who we are today. Don't worry about tomorrow, and don't worry about yesterday. It's irrelevant who you were yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you going to be today? Like, brush yourself off and give yourself some grace and decide that today I'm going to do one or two things. I know we do this a lot, you know, one or two things that we definitely have to do today. And when we've done those one or two things, anything else is like icing on the cake.
Yes.
It's truly awesome. If those one or two things are, do you know, I'm going to drink 2 glasses of water today along with my coffee, so be it. Today, I'm going to put my trainers on and sneakers if we're talking American. Yeah. I'm not going to run, but you know, I'm going to take a 5-minute walk. Just get outside for 5 minutes. That's pretty awesome because it's different if you haven't done it before.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this because when we set ourselves goals, what do? We celebrate when we get the goal. I'm going to lose 5 pounds. I'm going to celebrate when I've lost the 5 pounds. Well, what about the day that you went to the pantry, but you decided, I'm not going to get that cookie, I'm going to walk in the other direction. Did we celebrate then?
Probably not.
No. And yet that was the hardest moment of the whole goal. That was like the biggest, most pivotal moment that you found yourself in the cookie jar and you put the lid back on. Yet we berate ourselves because we didn't lose the pound, or, you know, it's going to take longer than we thought, you know, and yet we are awesome. If we could just assess where we are, wake up what truly is happening. What did you do? Truly.
Mm-hmm.
You may not have done the washing, but did you pick up all the socks and the trousers and the this and the that on the way down from upstairs, downstairs? So you did something.
Yeah.
It's a start. Let's celebrate that, you know.
That's right. Well, one of the things that I teach is that, you know, most of the time we create these ideas of what we want to be or do, and then we want to be there, and we want to create this list of a litany of a whole bunch of things that we have to do to get there, and then we, you know, set ourselves up for failure with that. Yes. And so I tell everybody, you know, all you need is a 1% change every day. And that will create exponential growth. And 1% is almost imperceptible in the moment. Mm-hmm. And so that's why it's important to keep that journal, keep that diary log, to assess and notice the things that you do, because over time you can look back and say, oh my gosh, I am so different today than I was back 3 months ago when I wrote the stuff down. But in the moment, day to day, we create a change in our life today. Tomorrow, today's thing is our new normal. So then we change that day, and the next day, that's our new normal. And so we keep changing our new normal every single day, either for the good or for the not so good. We just make a choice. And so I love being able to help my clients to not only make that 1% change, but help them register, like you're saying, celebrate the things that you did and write them down, because we need a log that says, hey, I did that, you know? And so it's imperative that we can look at the things that we're doing and see them and notice them.
Yeah, definitely. I have, and I would ask and encourage every single one of your listeners to do this. Get yourself a jar, okay? And a pasta jar, you know, like the pasta sauce big jar, any kind of jar, just something that's clear, okay? It can be a glass to start with because it's clear. Just get any scraps of paper and write the things that you've done in a day down and rip them off and put them in. Okay, every day think, what did I do? Write them down, put them in. I have what I call a celebration jar. I write lots, you know, all colored bits of paper, and a pen sat in there to capture the teeny tiny everyday stuff. So there is never a day when I can say that I didn't do anything, because day on day I can see it building up. All the itty bitty things that are creating huge change. Huge change. I didn't walk past my little boy's shoes this time and get annoyed. I just picked them up and moved them over, you know. For my sanity, that's a win. Yeah. It's a win, you know. to anybody else, it's just kind of, who cares? It's just a teeny tiny thing. But to me, it just shows that I'm intentionally doing things different. And we have to capture those. So I would really encourage your listeners, get yourself a clear jar, put it somewhere in the kitchen. Ask your kids at the end of the day, what did they do? What are they particularly proud about? What do they want to celebrate? If it's that they tied their laces when they undid, they stopped and did that. Yeah. I went and picked up my coat. Yeah. Whatever it may be. I put my hand up in class. Huge. These are huge moments. And if they can recognize, if we could all recognize actually the teeny tiny things that we are doing, rather than focusing on what we're not doing, then we can see our awesomeness.
Yeah.
We're starting to see that tapestry of awesomeness that's creating. Then when somebody says to me, how's your day? Tell people, actually, it's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. I got a few little things done. My top 2 things that I needed to do done. And for me, it's awesome. They don't need to know what they are unless you want to share them.
Yeah.
You can stand at the end of the day and look yourself again. How many of us do this? Where we actually, when we're brushing our teeth, washing our face at the end of the day, how many of us actually look at ourselves and have a conversation? No, we do it as quickly as possible. We're on to the next thing. But what would happen if you could sit and directly look at yourself? And when you look at you, like look directly in and you can see your pupils, like they say that when you see a reflection of yourself back, it's like seeing your soul. What if you said, you've been pretty awesome today? Now, if that doesn't make you smile, that doesn't mean you've been awesome to the point where it's perfection and, outstanding. I don't mean awesome like that.
Or there's people outside celebrating you,
No, awesome is, what? I set my mind to a couple of things. I got it done. Yeah, I'm here validating me for doing the best that I can in this very moment. And if that best is like the 1%, oh my goodness, that's better than like giving up.
Right.
That's really awesome. On the scale of awesomeness, it may feel like you've done 1%, but actually on the awesome scale, it's a 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hugely awesome.
And and compounded interest is huge too, right?
It's huge.
And there may be some people that are listening to this and have a hard time with that, because I will say that one of my hypnosis clients, quite a while back when I first started working with her, as we started working together, she actually hired me to help her lose weight. And one of the first things that we discovered in working together was that she did not like herself at all.
Yeah.
She could not look at herself in the mirror and say, I love you. She would avoid, like when she brushed her teeth, she looked anywhere but the mirror. And, so for her, it was a huge thing to finally get to a place where she could look at herself in the mirror and look in her eyes and say, oh, you're awesome. I love you. And so for anybody that's listening to this, and Michelle's thing is so amazing for you to start doing, but if you're not there yet, start incrementally by writing out some different things that are awesome about you, or even if you don't think they're awesome, some things about you that maybe you have not given yourself credit for. And whether that's getting your journal out and writing, that's a thing to give yourself credit for. Start where you are, and then go about it a little at a time. And that's where that 1% change comes in. But you can get to the place where you can brush your teeth and look at yourself in the mirror and say, oh my God, you are awesome, and believe it and feel it. But start where you are, and incremental changes every day will get you to that place. And so it's, I just wanted to stop really quick, because that one client of mine, if we had told her that, she would have just like shut down,
Absolutely.
And so, so
you have to start small. It's like a plant growing.
Yeah.
You don't plant a seed and suddenly there's an oak there.
Yeah.
You plant a seed.
And you don't dig it up to figure out where it's at.
You don't dig it. No, you don't. You have to give it time.
Yeah.
Now, I've worked with clients that are on the spectrum for autism. with disabilities, with all kinds of reasons to think that they are not awesome.
Right.
Youngsters that go through the juvenile justice system that are in a lot of trouble can often feel like they're just not awesome. They've made so many mistakes and now here they are. It's incredible to see somebody recognize that, you know, how their roots and their connections help with their awesomeness. You know, the journey today.
The people that you were just talking about, the people in the justice system and the ones that are on the spectrum and stuff, what is the one thing that you tell them to start with that helps them kind of start into that space?
Okay. So the first thing is we don't talk about the story, certainly for the juvenile justice clients, the story of what got them here.
Right.
We talk about where they're going from here. Let's get excited about that. Because where you are today, and quite often, you know, when things are not going well, we don't like where we are today. We're in situations we really don't want to be. So, but that is a creation of what we did back then.
Right.
Yeah. So if we can change just one thing today, that's going to start the momentum to move you to where you want to go to. So we talk a lot about that. But with my clients that are on the spectrum, it's about actually seeing it. So often I get them to tell me about who you are. They will often tell me, and lots of certainly young people will tell me all the things that they are not.
Right.
I'm not this. I can't do that. I've been told that I'm this. And no, this is all of the stuff that the labels have been given. And I let them get that out of their system. So if you have a journal, write all that down. Just get it out of your system. Don't question it. Just all the things that you've heard and you feel about yourself. Write it all down. And then we'll look at actually what you are. So, you know, as you know, the process that we go through is a creative process. So you have to take your time to build your tree, which gives you just a moment of quiet. Okay? Right. What are the roots that you have already and the connections that are going to support you on this journey? You know, what is your trunk made up of? Now, there are lots of activities that I go through to support that, but we're not just looking at the good. Awesome isn't just about the positive, happy moments.
It's the mosaic.
It's the mosaic, you know, the good, the bad, the downright ugly that you want to forget, that you're guilt-ridden and shameful of. It's actually quite awesome. I know from personal experience, I ran away from it. I tucked it away deep down. Let's not ever speak about any of that stuff, you know. But actually, I couldn't do what I'm doing now and be who I am today if I hadn't been there. Took some time, you know, and then those amazing moments that we don't tell anybody about the things we're so proud of because we've moved on to the next. So that, you know, building out the trunk, but also getting them to see that because of all that, they have leaves that may be seasonal. Sometimes you have lots of similar leaves. Some drop down to the earth and you kind of let them go. But you can actually go out and make a conscious decision as to what roots do you want to connect? How do you want to connect with this world? What experiences do you want to gather to keep building that tree? And what leaves are you going to go out and gather? So you can see, like, as I say, you know, it's undeniable proof that actually in our darkest times, when I've got the list of all the things you can't do, let's talk about actually what that means you can do. Because there's always, you know, life is balance. If there's a real negative, there has to be a positive there. Because of this situation and your understanding, your experience of this world, it means that you have this gift to support others, to understand others, to ask a question that nobody else has thought of because they haven't had the experience that you've had. Like, we are all unique. There's no two people the same. Even identical twins are different.
Yeah.
Different. So that, you know, we can ask a question, think of a response or an answer, a way of doing something, the way to create music, design, you name it. Completely different way that anybody else can do it because we're doing it in our voice.
Right.
So it's about doing that. That's the one thing, is about, okay, let's look at what you can do, what you are doing.
Yeah. And I will say that's a struggle for a lot of people, because like when I work with a client, one of the things I will ask them when we meet up, you know, whether it's weekly or whatever it is, I'll say, so what's going well? And they will immediately go to the things that didn't go right, the things that they wanted to do that they didn't do. And they will start off on all this thing. And I'll say, wait. No, we'll talk about that later. Right now, I want to know what went well. And they have to really think about it. And sometimes if they're not used to doing anything like that, I have to tell them, okay, next week, that's the first question I'm going to ask you. So all week long, log the things that are going right, because those are the one you want to remember.
Yeah.
Because typically those are the ones we forget.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it when people say to me, when I say, you know, how was your week? Good. What do you mean by good? I mean, what does that, or okay. Yeah. So let's get into that. What does that actually mean in your world? Because it's different for everybody.
Right.
Have you ever gone up and asked somebody, you know, how are you doing? I haven't seen you for a while. And they've gone, I'm awesome. Like, I'd be like, so tell me more. Like, yeah. But none of us do that. We go, yeah, we're okay. You know?
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is I was on a cruise one time, and the wait staff in this, you know, because they have the fine dining restaurant, you know, that we would go to every night, and the wait staff get they have like a little questionnaire that you get at the end of the cruise ship, and it says rate me, you know, and all this stuff. So they trained us to where every time we talked about who we were or what they were doing, excellent. And it was all so that at the end, we would automatically go to that excellent, but they were excellent. I mean, they didn't just say it, but it was like from that point on, and this has been years ago, when people will ask how I am, most of the time, it's like the first thought that comes to my mind is excellent. I'm doing great. You know, awesome, whatever it is. And a lot of people, when you say that, they kind of like, what?
It really takes people by surprise. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying we all have to do that all the time, but we should be able to express ourselves. Now, if we're not feeling awesome, then we should be able to say, and yet we keep it to an okay or good.
Yeah.
With no explanation behind that. If you ask somebody to, you know, when I ask my youngsters, if you could list out the areas you'd like to improve. Adults are brilliant at this. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're straight away, oh my goodness, yes, and yes. And I'll ask them to put their pens down and say, okay, I'm going to give you the same amount of time if you'd like to list out your strengths. And you suddenly see people go,
yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is why the celebration jar is so key. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you can start to see everything that you are, all the little things, getting to know yourself, and you're putting them into the jar. You know, you have to keep doing it. It's a muscle that you have to keep flexing. You can't do, and we've all been to workshops, to training programs, through coaching, through all of these things. I mean, reading the books and doing the things, you know, watching the webinars, even the podcasts. It's not a one-stop shop. Like, you don't just do it once and we're done. You have to keep massaging that muscle. Right. You know, I've been to you for hypnotherapy. You are phenomenal.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. Love it. Okay. But I can't just go once and think that, yeah, you have fixed me. I may leave, and often I've phoned you afterwards and gone, Vicky, you are never going to guess what's happened. Okay? It's a phenomenal situation. You know, what I've asked for, that I want to overcome, the challenge that I've been faced with. We've worked together and you've been brilliant. Now, I know that is not the end, because once we've dealt with that, like something else shows its head. It's a continuous journey. And yet so often we think, you know, I just need to know I'm awesome. And in my head, tick that box and everything should be fine. No, you need to keep telling yourself and showing yourself and gathering the proof and doing the work.
Right. That's the most important thing. Believing and doing the work. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I've got a conference that I'm speaking at the end of the week. We're talking about activating the awesomeness with, you know, and belonging. And there's lots in media at the moment, you know, with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and belonging is kind of the buzzword, I think, of this year. Belonging, like I said earlier, it's been my journey. But belonging, you could tell me, Vicky, that I belong. You could see me and see my potential, and you could tell me I'm not alone. But unless I can feel it and know it for myself and know who I am, then it's never going to really make me feel like I fit in, like I belong.
Right.
Yeah. And when I say fit in, I hesitate because I don't mean fit in to be like everybody else. I mean, just box. I fit as I am. Right. Know? The good, the bad, the downright ugly, and everything else in between. And they're truly amazing. You know, I show up and I just belong.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We have to do this for ourselves. We can't expect everybody else to try and make us feel that way. Right. You can help me, but I've got to do the work thereafter.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like, you know, when people go to the gym, they don't go to the gym and work out one day and then expect to be really fit and never go back. And, you know, I really love it to work that way, to be honest with you, but it does not.
You have to work the muscles.
You do. And I'll say that's one of the things that I'm working on right now is being a lot better and more consistent with that kind of thing. But it was like this morning, one of the things that I talked about in my live was that, you know, where most of the time we are intent on changing everything around us if things aren't going right, like you were saying, you know, pointing the finger and that kind of stuff. And so I remember my son one time, he thought that if he moved to a different state, suddenly he would find happiness. And I told him, I said, you know, the interesting thing is wherever you go, there you are. Yes. So you follow you everywhere you go. So whatever's happening for you right here, right now is going to be happening there because you're the common denominator. So either you get this fixed where you're at or, you know, be okay with it. And, you know, and that's, I think a lot of times people are constantly going into these places looking for the happiness or the magic pill. And I was the one that was always looking for the magic pill as a person that wanted to diet all the time. It was the magic diet, the magic this. And so it's learning that it starts here and here. And once we get our heart and our head in the right place, man, oh man, all this stuff out there that's been happening, going to change. Boop.
It's amazing how quickly change happens when, like you say, your heart and your head are aligned and you're doing it for you. How many of us, and I always remember this, and I used to love the beginning of the school year. Why? Because you've got new clothes, you've got a new pencil case, and you've got the new book, and, you know, you're looking the part.
Yeah, yeah.
There's still you turning up that has to do the work.
Yeah.
But suddenly, you know, when we decide at the beginning of the year, you know, this is going to be the best year ever. But we've got to get the outfit first.
Yeah.
The gym, got to get all the stuff and got to have the people around us. You know, it's actually, you know, what if we could just sit quiet and ask ourselves, get to know ourselves and do it not because of anybody else, just because it's for me. How many of us are doing anything just because? Especially as women.
Yeah.
Did we just sit and read a magazine just because? It wasn't work related or parenting related or because we feel like we're meant to read this because of who we are and what we look like and blah, 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 all the list.
Yeah.
Yes, we picked it up and there were no reasons. We just took some time out just because.
Yeah.
That's us getting to know ourselves. You know, there's no rule to some of the things that we have to have that time, don't we? To just do it because that's what brings us joy in that moment.
Yeah. It's getting comfortable with who we are and actually being okay with the silence or being alone. And so some people do not feel comfortable by themselves because they don't want to be in their own thoughts. And I will say that was me years ago too. And so I was always looking for the next place to go, the next person to visit, the next person to call. And it took a long time of all this work to get to a place where it was like, oh, I kind of like some alone time, to where it is something that is so sacred to me now that, some people that I've dated and everything felt so needy because they were infringing on that me time. Whereas before I was the needy one, it's really interesting when you can get comfortable inside yourself. It's like, whew, I like having some moments to just think my thoughts.
Yeah. And not having to have a reason behind that to explain yourself.
Right.
You're just doing things and not having a reason. I'm not saying for 1 second to be irresponsible. Okay.
Right.
Okay. We have to be safe. But there are times when we shouldn't have to justify.
Right.
This is what I've asked myself. What do I need right now? Do that thing.
Yeah.
But you can only do that when you know who you are. The biggest question is, who am I, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
Who am I?
And learning to listen to that voice and recognizing that, because like you were saying about all the things that we're inundated with all the time, we've been trained to listen to everybody else's voice and right and what's wrong and all those different things. And we even second guess ourselves with, like you said, like the clothes that we're wearing or what we're eating and what we're, it's constantly, coming at us, and getting into a place where we can get in tuned with ourself, our inner voice, our God voice, our universe, whatever it is. And because like one of my favorite books is by Michael Singer, and it's called The Surrender Experiment. And I know I told you about that one. And it is a magical thing to surrender to the process and just let things flow. I mean, it just takes the stress and anxiety out of things so much. And I love that this stuff that you're doing with, I think a lot of the people that you're working with, I know you work with some adults, but a lot of it's the youth, right?
Yes.
But helping them to activate their awesomeness and learn about their gifts and the things that they bring forth in the world. And without that, that angst of, am I doing enough?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, what's really amazing, I love, firstly, that they get to see all their individual tree, but they also see how their tree fits into the forest, and that they're also very, very different. But for youngsters, so often they feel like, firstly, that they're behind. They should be further ahead than they are. They don't have all the answers. They don't understand the world. But they feel like they're meant to understand the world. And then they've got all social media and everything else being like screamed at about who they're meant to be. So you really quickly, when you're young, and I know I personally lost who I was. I truly, when I was a youngster, 14, 15, decided that, no, I was invisible. Nobody would notice if I left this planet. That's where I was. Because I didn't know who I was. And I always joke now about my name being Michelle. I lived at the back of my shell. Like hearing out. I just didn't understand this world. None of it made sense. And I think a lot of our youngsters feel that way. They don't know where they fit in or how they fit in or whether they belong, or they're not this and they're not that as they look out and into the world. If they are able to start to get to know what they do have and what they are, I am. That doesn't necessarily mean I have to be an extrovert. I'm an introvert, which means I'm able to sit and observe and take my time. I'm an extrovert, so I will step in and take action, and maybe lead. We need both.
Right.
Both are awesome. In the context of a group, they're really phenomenal. But if you think that one or the other is
better,
then you're going to step away from actually what your strength is, your natural characteristic of who you are. So it's phenomenal to be able to show these young people that they are not behind. They are growing. Yeah, they're not there yet. They're developing. We're all developing. There's no end game here. Even in my 50s now, I'm still growing because we change and adapt day on day. But as I said to you before, if you know as a youngster that you have control of how you show up, the choices you make today for you, and that you do have control, of how you feel, because you get to choose how you want to react to whatever's going on.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how to go out and gather your roots, decide on your experiences in your trunk and what leaves you want to go and gather, you can create the most incredible future and have that proof to be awesome each and every day. Now, what your tree will look like and my tree will look like, completely different, but they'll both be awesome sat next to each other.
Mm-hmm.
What leaves you're going to go and gather and I'm going to go and gather, they may be teeny tiny things. I'm not going to, for youngsters, I'll say to them, what is your goal going to be? And you can see them thinking, what do you mean? What's my goal going to be? What could you do that's just teeny tiny that can make the difference? This week, I'm going to put the trash out. I'm not going to be asked. Well, actually, the ramifications of that are huge in a they haven't had to be asked, 3 or 4 times, and then all the arguments and everything else that comes from it. But also, if you think about transitioning for a youngster from middle school to high school, the biggest question is, who am I? How do I fit in? Now, if you know that as you transition, you can go with your head held high, confident of who you are. If you're transitioning from high school to college, same thing. You get to re-engage and see the development and growth. It means you can celebrate. You can write that transcript for college as to who you are and what you're about and what your values are and what your strengths are, what and you have a better sense of what you're capable of doing, your potential. And then transitioning again from college into the workplace, you show up on that first day. If you know who you are, not only can you answer that question in an interview, which is always the same, tell me a little bit about yourself. You can say it with, you will have practiced it. You will be ready for it. You will know who you are and the value that you have to offer. That whole interview and that conversation is going to be very, very different. And that first day at work, you recognize that you have been hired for a reason. So you get to show up, not just to take the orders, but to really add value and make a difference in this world. So that whole process is about, that's how you create the confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Starts with the question of who am I? And yet
brilliant.
So many of us don't know the answer to that. Yeah. And so many people will tell me, oh, I don't have anything to offer. Well, I've yet to find someone that doesn't have anything to offer that will add value and awesomeness to this world.
Yeah, I feel a workshop coming on.
I feel like that, yes. There is no, we all have awesomeness, and it's about your unique awesomeness. You.
Yes.
Just you. Being you. Doing Perfect. You. Yes.
Yeah. So tell everybody how they can connect with you. If there's and I will share in our description and everything, I will share any links or anything, but just go ahead and tell everybody, for those that are just listening and not seeing it, because there are places where it's just audio and then places where there's a video as well. And so I want to make sure that they can connect with you.
The best way to connect with me is through my website, which is activatetheawesome.com. This is the best way. Yeah, reach out. If you have any questions, want to know about any of the workshops, one-on-one work, that's the place to get hold of me. We are all awesome. I have to say this because there's somebody that needs to hear this today. You may have a whole list of all the reasons why you're not. I'm telling you, you have a tapestry of awesomeness. You have a tapestry of awesomeness. If you just took a moment to really think about how many cells you have in your body. Trillions. Each cell has a volt of energy. I think it's 1.4. If you times that by the number of cells, that is an exponential body of potential.
Yes, definitely.
It far exceeds any lightning bolt that has ever been recorded, us as humans. So we all have this awesomeness. We all feel it. I know we've talked about this before. You feel there's more to life, like there's something just can't put your fingers on. If you've ever had that feeling, come speak to me, because we'll tap you back into your tapestry of awesomeness so that you can gather the proof, the undeniable proof, which starts to open so many doors of opportunity. to move you to where you know in your heart you're meant to be. Come speak to me.
Ah, perfect. And that leads me to my final words that I say. I will be honest. Sometimes I neglect to say it, but but I'm remembering today. Yay. How awesome is that? The best way to predict the future is create it. So what are you creating? And with that, have a blessed day, and I will see you soon. Mwah.